Welcome back to Across the Board. My name is Khalid Gray.
And I'm Micah Beard.
And today's episode is actually something that we've been wanting to talk about for a while.
Absolutely.
Bringing Micah on is very important for this episode. I can only talk to a few people about basketball. Only a few that actually know what they're talking about. So let's jump right into it. Actually, there's an underlying problem that we have here. The incident isn't the root of concern. We need to talk about something that's deeper than that. Sports journalism is a dying industry.
Absolutely.
But let's focus on the incident.
Okay.
We've seen Stephen A. Smith and what he said about LeBron. Now, granted, Stephen A. Smith is known to have controversial takes.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the root of the issue is the fact that it was the non-basketball hot take that he had made regarding LeBron's parenting. Yeah. Now, we have a lot to unpack for this episode.
We do.
We'll get into that. But what is your feeling towards what Stephen A. Smith said? Did he go over the line? What is your opinion?
Just my thoughts are it's absolutely unacceptable, regardless of how you want to talk about it. I mean, there's a level to criticizing Bronny's game, criticizing LeBron's game. That's fair game, and talking about sports, you can be careful what you say to not offend anybody. I mean, we all know the infamous situation with Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan that ruined their friendship forever just because he wanted to talk about his game and things like that. Yeah. But you take it to a whole nother level when you talk about somebody's parenting or their personal choices or what they do, as a person. We've seen this with Kyrie and him talking about his personal choices and things he made, which regardless if you agree with those or not, statements were made. But this, I feel like, crosses a whole new barrier because it's not just about my political opinions or what you think about my game or how you view me as a person. You talk about my kid and my parenting towards him and saying I put him in a bad position by doing, whatever frame of mind you want to come at it from. I think that is overstepping a lot of bounds. I think that is unacceptable from Stephen A. I get that First Take is a show where, you like to get off energetic and polarizing opinions to try to stir up discussion. And I get that, a lot of people don't agree with how Bronny has come to the league. But regardless of how you feel about that, taking it to a jab at you because of your parenting style or whatever, that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot of key points that I'm going to talk about right now. That we're actually going to discuss a little further into the episode. One of the biggest things that you said was how Bronny got there. Bronny played half a season at USC. He didn't really get to have his full freshman year. He played alongside Isaiah Collier, who plays for the Utah Jazz right now. Honestly, had a better time being at USC than he did with Bronny. Yes. But when we think about how certain players get to the league, we both know an athlete that plays for the 76ers right now that didn't play any high school ball, went to college, played a little bit over there, and now he's playing in the NBA. So there's been non-traditional paths to the league. Also, most famously, people that are from Houston, you guys know about Hakeem Olajuwon. He didn't play basketball. Matter of fact, more noted, let's talk about more recent. Joel Embiid didn't play basketball really until he got to the States.
Exactly.
So when we think about players that have had not only early starts or non-traditional journeys to the league, Bronny, his situation is no different from theirs, right?
Exactly.
But the only difference is LeBron James' son.
That's the part right there.
That's the part that we start to think is the reason why you're talking about this, and it just in general, because it's clicks. Bronny James' name alone brings a lot of viewership.
Yeah.
So let's break it down into two issues or two topics concerning this incident as a whole. We, at the beginning of the show, mentioned that there's a problem going on with sports journalism as a whole, and I think it starts to become a disservice to the whole idea of journalism when you think of this situation, because Bronny James is playing exceptionally well for a 55th pick.
Absolutely.
And we're starting to understand that sports journalism is starting, or at least journalism is starting to gear towards more the first take skeleton, like the first take archetype, where it's more about the drama instead of what's really going on. Because when you look at how Bronny James is playing, he's playing better than a lot of players that are picked ahead of him.
Ahead of him, exactly.
So you know the numbers. I know the numbers. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Dalton Knecht. Let's talk about Dalton Knecht. Great player.
Absolutely.
He went from JUCO. He had his JUCO route, went to the Power 5. Played well, got drafted. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you remember when he got drafted?
Last year.
Last year? No, I'm sorry. What pick he got drafted? Sorry.
He was the 16th pick, I believe.
Okay. So, top 20 pick.
Yeah.
55th pick, getting more scrutiny from somebody that was getting more scrutiny rather than Dalton Knecht that has been playing, let's say for lack of better words, not a six-pink pick. I think that's the best way to put it.
I would agree with that,
like that. So there's been notably recently a game where Bron, Luka, and Austin Reeves did not play. Bronny James came off the bench, had 19 points. He played exceptionally well. Dalton Knecht did not, right? But instead of hearing about how well Bronny James had played, Dalton Knecht, or instead of talking about how great Bronny James played or how bad Dalton Knecht played, we just heard more scrutiny about Bronny James even getting a chance to get some time in the league.
Absolutely.
But there's been I saw this video going around. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. The 40th pick, I can't think of the team he's played for, which is crazy. Granted, it's for the 40th pick.
Yeah.
But the way that he plays, the whole markup of him as a player, we look at Bronny James and we're like, this 44th pick is nowhere near Bronny James's level.
Absolutely.
Right? So instead of us talking about what really matters, I think the journalist had geared towards more of a drama-filled story with let's disregard the facts, let's disregard the stats, let's talk about everything else besides basketball. So my question to you is, after my rant, I'm sorry, but after all that, what do you think needs to be focused on in terms of Bronny James' career and less of LeBron's? And how do we come back? How do we start bridging the gap again between sports and Bronny James and the accurate performances? How do we get back to level?
So how would I explain the getting back to level? I think we'd have to start at first. Let's break down something that you said earlier about even, again, the emphasis of how Bronny James got here. I think that the biggest problem and the biggest takeaway that would make, people separate the distinction between LeBron and Bronny was if he got away from the Lakers. And that was probably the biggest thing of a sign of you're just here because your dad plays, is because he's on his dad's team. And okay, I can understand that argument to a certain extent. But again, if we look at how he got here, high school, coming out in the senior, McDonald's All-American, before he had a heart attack and fell out in the middle of his practice floor.
Exactly.
He was cooking. And, he was really good. And so seeing that translate over into, USC, I do disagree with the pick that he made to go to USC only because going to a stacked guard school like that behind Isaiah, that did not do him any services coming off the bench either. And so who knows if he wouldn't have come off the bench before he had the heart attack and everything, but maybe he would have went to a different school, had a better trajectory in college, who knows. But to come here and some other 55th picks that have been selected, I believe Andrew Wiggins was actually a 55th pick. Yeah. But, and another person that I was researching that just was...
Andrew Wiggins for the Thunder.
Yeah.
Okay, let's...
Yeah, not Warriors, not Warriors.
We're going to get that. We're just going to get that cleared. Andrew Wiggins from the Thunder.
Yeah, the other one was the first pick. He was the first overall. But just thinking about that, he stacks up to those guys, but then clears all the other 55th picks. Like right now, he's sitting at top 3 55th pick territory.
Like of all time.
Like of all time. That's what I'm saying. Like he's sitting at top 3 55th pick of all, in sport, all of sports history of being drafted for the NBA. But coming to that,
not crazy too.
Yeah, coming to that, we're to address the actual issue that you're describing. I think that taking all that into mind, right, seeing how he's producing and then moving away from the Lakers, I think that would open a lot of people's eyes. I think taking a step away from, this is your father's team. This has been your father's team for, about 7 years now. Like, LeBron is a certified Laker now. Yeah. Regardless of what people feel, you think he has been there for a long time?
I don't think he's the best. I don't think you can put him in the best Laker.
I wouldn't say that, just purely off of, carrying the Lakers' legacy on you. I wouldn't say that he's one of those. Okay. But he solidified the Lakers, and he has spent 7 years of his career here.
Of course.
So he's also won a title for you.
Of course.
So through that, people are forever going to look at this as, as long as Bronny's here, this is LeBron's team. That's the reason why he got here. I think the moment that Bronny steps away, or even if you look at the G League, how he took charge of the South Bay Lakers.
Of course.
He is that team. That's his team. Yeah, that's his team.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's exactly where I wanted to kind of go. I was getting sidetracked. But his G League performances speak for itself.
Absolutely.
The G League is not a scrub league. Let's be honest with ourselves. There's a lot of talent in there. And I think most notably, Imani Bates. Plays for the Cavs, right?
Reed Shepherd plays for the G League.
Reed Shepherd went his first time, dropped 50.
Torches on the Vipers.
That just shows how much talent that there is in the G League.
But what separates the draft picks now, that people say this is a weaker draft class, that's what separates them, I think, from even the G League. Because you have these players who don't play that much, that are coming in as rookies, don't play much on their respective teams, and then you have them go to the G League and drop crazy numbers.
Exactly.
Like Reed Shepherd, he takes it off day, plays on the G League. Who knows? Like the G League is full of shuttle players, just like Bronny, who people complain about that aspect too. That he's a shuttle player. But regardless of that, if he's torching the players in the G League, So showing he's a cut above the rest, and then can stack up to a decent measure in the NBA. Why do you think that he doesn't belong here?
Exactly. And that's the point that I wanted everybody to kind of get to, or I think at least needs to be amplified, is because it's the fact that people are still thinking that he's here because of his dad, not because of his game. His game is good. We've seen it before. We've seen him do numbers in the G League. We've seen him put up good numbers in the league when he's given that shine. And as time continued, in the beginning, yes, of course, we didn't think Bronny James was. We actually fed in. Well, I fed into it, but we fed into the idea that okay, maybe he is kind of here because his father plays for the team. Because
I was I was never there.
I was thinking the same thing. Let's be honest. Everybody was. I'll admit when I was wrong. You know,
understandable.
But as time continued, we saw that this player developed. He's been around the league.
That was the whole point.
That's exactly
why he's here.
And a lot of players that were drafted either in the second round along with them have not done the same thing.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that I want, journalists like Stephen A. Smith and other journalists that are focusing on the story to understand is Bronny is a great player. He's not a charity case. This isn't. And even if you want to talk about it for real, Lakers had a 55th pick. I mean, I don't think Bronny James being picked at 55th.
I was going to say,
crazy.
who else would you pick at that point? No one else has a thing that they say want to pick over him.
It's a second-round draft pick, specifically the 55th. I mean, he's 5 more spots away from not getting drafted.
At all. Exactly.
And that alone is already baffling to me, the fact that we care so much about a 55th pick. The only reason why this 55th pick is getting a lot of coverage is because it's LeBron James' son.
Exactly.
But the thing that I really need people to understand is that this 55th pick is exceeding your expectations. Even if it wasn't Bronny James, if we see a 55th pick, you know what? Perfect example. Nikola Jokic. Let's talk about Nikola Jokic and Manu Ginobili. Two extraordinarily great European players have changed the game in ways that we can't even comprehend still, right? You got to understand, these are players that were undermined, overlooked.
Absolutely.
We both talked about how Nikola Jokic got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. But as we see players develop over the years, they start to become players that are revolutionary to the game. There's talent in that 55th, 56th, 57th, 58th, 59th, 60th pick. There's talent in there. Isaiah Thomas is a perfect example of there being talent in there, no matter what the size is, because I only mention that because people think, oh, Bronny James is
undersized,
this is undersized guard. That don't matter now.
Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are 6'2", 6'1". What are we talking about here?
And matter of fact, since you mentioned those two players specifically, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell can play some defense. Everybody can play defense in the league if we want to talk about it, but Darius Garland gets hunted on defense. I mean, on offense. When it comes, on defense. Darius Garland gets hunted on defense. Bronny James is at least able to show up defensively.
Exactly.
We've seen games where he's jumped.
His athleticism
is crazy.
It's crazy.
Breaking up passes, being able to go into the passing lanes and be able to disrupt the offense is something that we saw in the summer league. He had games where he had 3 steals, or we've seen games where he had 3 blocks. At 6'2", he's showing you that he's here to stay.
He's caught multiple bodies in the G League.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So, long story short, we've basically seen how this player has developed, not only offensively, because offensively we've seen him develop.
Absolutely.
I mean, the 3 ball is now falling. He's getting to the rim a lot. He looks comfortable.
And let me stop you there real quick. So I just want to make a point to say, let's be completely honest. If you watch any of his game tape in high school, which I know a lot of the criticisms, they haven't watched his tape before. He was an excellent shooter, even compared to LeBron at his age. And I know the game has evolved to where a lot of people of that size need to be sharpshooters. Everybody has to shoot nowadays.
Everybody has to.
But Bronny has been an exceptional shooter since all of his days in Sierra Canyon. That didn't translate to USC because, again, you're coming off of, a heart attack, but even just mixing to the flow of the offense. But then NBA 3 is a whole different game. But to see how quick that he developed into the NBA 3 has been astonishing. And then the fact that I would also argue that against his peers who haven't developed a shot, Isaiah Collier has not developed a shot. He's been looking god awful. He's shooting 23% right now.
Playmaker, though.
He is. His passing's elite. Passing elite. He has room. But the point is that stacking up against his peers, AJ Johnson, a guy who was 23rd pick to the Bucks, but averaged 2 points overseas with the Illawarra Hawks. So it's just like, to me, seeing all these things and seeing the criticisms that they lay out in front of him, and even to his game, to see how quick that Bronny's offense developed, and also his mind, because Bronny is a playmaker as well, and that his understanding of the game, and the fact that we have other NBA players who have trained Bronny and said, no, he is here to stay.
Exactly.
And I don't know where's the hesitancy to talk about him or give him his praise he deserves.
I mean, well, when we think about sports in general, we got to understand there are certain teams or certain players that will always get you views and clicks. Always.
Absolutely.
Dallas Cowboys. I'm sorry. I'm going through PTSD, y'all. Dallas Mavericks, we in the news now. We get clicks now.
But for the worst.
But in terms of, there's always that team or that player to talk about. Bron is that player in the NBA, right? And now he plays for the Lakers. And now his son plays for the Lakers.
Yep.
It's like, it's a crazy headline every single time, right? But I think the root of the issue, now that we're here, nearing the end of our show, is that sports journalism is starting to deter from the actual sport.
Absolutely.
When we look at the numbers and when we have these conversations and we actually sit down and watch the game, there's things that we see, right? When we see in Bronny, we see the fact that he's getting more comfortable. We see that. But the mass media does not. They see the highlight, they see the stats. We're in a day and age where analytics rule the game.
Absolutely.
Right?
Box score watchers.
Box score watchers, analytical people that sit and watch numbers rather than the player.
The actual player.
And that's the thing that's an issue even when it comes to drafting players. We're having a lot more, we're losing recipes. I'm joking.
What happened to the game we love?
What happened to the game we love?
So, Bronny, even at the combine, he killed at the combine, but no one really paid attention to that. But so that's a whole different aspect of even he proved that he was here even before he developed, that he could stack up against the competition. And to get even ultimately to your point about dying journalism and this whole first take mindset that we've discussed, I think that people who watch we're talking about box score watchers. Let me backtrack. These box score watchers, they have no idea about the context that surrounds winning basketball. That's the same reason that people actually discredit LeBron for a lot of things, which is why this has come so far and why LeBron receives so much criticism is because they don't understand the impact of a game that not just scoring points has. That the way that you set people up, the defensive schemes, the offensive schemes, the motions, just everything that could happen, affected field goal percentage. People don't even understand. They look at box score watching.
True shooting is.
Exactly.
So thinking of literally everything that we're putting together right now, I think the issue starts to become the fact that we're losing recipes. There's no more basketball savants. ESPN specifically has been known to release some of its people that were able to break down the game for real. This is not a shot to ESPN at all. It's not. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the mass media loves criticism. They love drama.
Absolutely.
They love criticism. And what a better storyline than, I think Bron put his son in the worst position ever as a father.
Yeah.
That is a horrible take, honestly, because we're seeing Bronny is living his best life.
He is.
Bronny actually.
He put him in the best position.
He put him in the best position. That is amazing. That is amazing.
The position, because when the controversy was first starting about Bronny being drafted, I would always say, would you not take the position as a father or as a son of the fact that this is a weaker draft class, your son's coming off of, whatever injury, but you could get him with NBA level development and talent and have him cook there and develop, then stay in college. Why would you not take that, especially an opportunity of a weaker draft class?
Exactly.
So it's the fact that when that was being said, and people were spewing against it, we're now seeing the fruits of that labor. We're now seeing the development workout.
Yep.
Now seeing him, cook Giannis.
Exactly. Come on. Here's the thing. I'll say this and we'll wrap up. I feel as if we need to start understanding that players need time to develop, and there needs to be a closer look when we start making these takes, right? There's certain players that we know and that we've seen develop over the years. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, there's people that are honestly regarded as the next MVP.
Yes.
He had a very slow start with the LA Clippers.
Absolutely. He's why I got traded.
Exactly. But he's a Kentucky guard, right? Kentucky's known for the best guards.
Absolutely. Let's get that out there too.
Let's get some of the best guards.
Duke best players.
Exactly. But we got to understand a lot of these players have time to develop. Bronny is no different. Granted, him going back to USC, I believe, would not have done anything for his
agree.
career. Now, like you even mentioned, I'm glad that you mentioned it because it makes the most sense that I need people to understand that. As a father, I'm putting my son in the league because now my son is now going to have access to top of the line training, health, recovery, and some of the best basketball coaches to ever coach the game of basketball. And I'm LeBron. If I could get him anything he wants or needs, let me say needs. I could get him the help that he needs to become a great player. And I think Stephen A. Smith saying that, I think that was a bad take. I don't
agree.
think that was a reasonable take, especially as a journalist that's understanding. You're supposed to be the one that knows the game of basketball. That take for somebody that's supposed to know the game of basketball was not, I don't believe, was a very accurate take.
I think it was an emotional take.
A very emotional take, especially understanding, especially when you see the games, you see the numbers, and you understand his trajectory and his potential. And we've seen some play. If we really want to talk about it, I don't think Anthony Bennett gets a lot of, discredit for being the worst first overall draft pick. But that's a whole different discussion. But I'm glad we were able to have this discussion today, because I feel like it sheds light on a bigger issue that we will get into a lot more as we start to really follow Bronny's career and how the media, how the media covers him. And also, as I'm just gonna throw it out here, I feel like that's the reason why players and media do not get along.
Absolutely.
Because of things like this.
That is the mindset of this,
Exactly.
first take, just getting out polarizing takes for clicks and views and not getting to the root of the problem.
Exactly. But I'm glad I had this discussion with
Absolutely.
you. We really want, actually, Micah, you should be on here a lot more.
I'm open to it.
We will be bringing Micah back. But
I love it.
we enjoyed this. I enjoyed this conversation.
I enjoyed this conversation
I hope you enjoyed
thoroughly.
this conversation too. We hope you guys enjoyed this conversation as well. Let us know what you think in the comments, comment section below. While you're in that comment section, what's a little bit above it is that subscribe button. We hope you guys hit that.
Please.
While being on there, we also have links to our Twitter, which I saw. We also have an Instagram that we want you guys to go and watch and follow. We post updates. We post everything. Bailey Boyce, our fantastic social media manager, she runs it, so let's give her a little bit of praise on that one. But go there, see all of our updates, see all of our press releases, see new episodes. You can even follow, like I said, our Instagram. You can follow our Twitter. But make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube for more episodes of Panther Sports Zone, Athletes Corner, and Across the Board. This has been Khalid Gray.
This is Micah Beard.
And we will see you guys in the next episode of Across the Board.